All right, Coach. Well, I'm just gonna throw the first question to Neil here real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Coach, how have practices been, and what have you seen from Georgetown after looking at them the last couple of days?
Well, practices have been good. Our guys are dialed in. They're obviously excited, and energy's been good. And I think they're anxious to play now. Last weekend, when we left Vegas, I said I'm glad we don't play till Saturday. I'm still glad, but now that it's getting closer, our guys are getting antsy and excited and ready to go. So, the more I watch Georgetown, the better they get. But then they're playing very well right now. So it's going to be a heck of a matchup. And I think we're prepared. They've got some really good guards that can shoot the ball and score the ball. A very unique team, and they bring their leading scorer off the bench. And he plays about 30 plus minutes a game. So, they've got multiple lines. The Pickett kid is very versatile. They can play him at the 3. They start him there, but he can also play at the 4 and shoot. If they want to go really small, they can play him at the 5. So he's kind of a Swiss Army knife for them. They've got the Wahab kid inside, who's a really good low post scorer. So we've got our challenges, and we know what they are. Now we got to go meet them.
Coach, next question is from Pat Graham.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Pat.
Hey, so Georgetown is getting all the publicity around the nation. You guys are kind of flying under the radar, just in typical Colorado fashion. Do you kind of like that, where you guys are just have a chip on your shoulder and kind of are the underdog?
Yeah, we're used to it, Pat. That's for darn sure. I don't know if I like it, but we're used to it. And, I can't control, what people talk about, and I'm not a social media wizard that's trying to draw attention to certainly myself or even our program. I want our program to draw attention to itself by winning. And that's the only way we can go out and get that, again, that national respect. I think people that know college basketball, that follow it closely, respect us and understand, what's going on at Colorado here recently. But really the only way to get that national respect is to beat a team like Georgetown, who's from a really big media center and has great tradition.
All right, Coach, next question is from Justin.
Coach, on the year, Georgetown's only been out-rebounded a handful of times out of all of their games. Just over the last couple of days, what has your scouting report revealed about them and what makes them so good on the offensive and defensive glass?
Well, I think it starts with the Wahab kid. He gets his hands on a lot of balls, and even if he doesn't get the rebound, he taps it, and tips it, and keeps the ball alive. You saw that in some of the NCAA tournament games last night. And then they've got a guy like Pickett, who's a good rebounder. He's really 6'9", playing the 3 spot for him, and the Belay kid is a good active athlete. So they're a good rebounding team. They've got great length at different positions. So we've got to have all 5 guys on the defensive glass, especially, help us. Our guards have to help us rebound. I've said this multiple times, but when I look at the stat sheet after the game and I see our guards having, 4, 5, 6 defensive rebounds, it's usually been a good defensive rebounding night for us. And then offensively, we got to crash the glass because, Georgetown, again, they rely on their length and athleticism. I wouldn't say that they're a great box out team. So if we can fly around and get guys in the lane and get our hands on balls, we just have to battle. That's really an area on the stat sheet where toughness shows up and energy shows up and, intensity shows up. It shows up in rebounding.
All right, Coach, next question is going to Pat Rooney.
Hey, Tad. Obviously a great track record of getting to the NCAA tournament. As long as you've been in Colorado, winning games there has been a little bit more problematic. Is that what needs to happen? Kind of maybe going back to that national respect in a previous question. Is that what has to happen for this program to maybe take that next step?
It does. And I think, Pat, the fact that this is the highest seed we've ever had, it's important that we take advantage of that. And, we're a 5 seed for a reason. Now we got to play like a 5 seed. If we do that, we'll be okay. But nothing's given. And I think, in previous, you're in that 8-9 game. I mean, those are coin flips. You know what I mean? Like, and even some of the 7-10 games are coin flips. So I think, the longer you do this is something we've talked to our team about this year, as you're playing regular season games and your expectation is to be an NCAA tournament team at the end of the year. You're playing in November, December, January, February, you're playing for seeding. And we've now put ourselves in a position to have a good seed. Now we got to go out and take advantage of that seed and play well. So, but yeah, the only way you earn that respect is by winning games in the tournament and trying to get on a roll and live to see another day. So that's what we got to try to do. And Georgetown's thinking the same thing, because the 12-5 game, there's been a lot of upsets, as people know, through the years.
All right, Coach, back to Pat Graham.
Hey, Coach, to kind of follow up on that one, how do you convince your players that the name Georgetown doesn't mean Allen Iverson, Alonzo Mourning, and Patrick Ewing, and then it doesn't give them any more points than just a regular name, just to kind of get the Georgetown mystique out of their heads?
Yeah, Pat, I think the Georgetown mystique is more like in people like my head and maybe some of the media members who are close to my age, because
old guys.
What's that?
You mean us old guys?
I mean us old guys, exactly, Neil. Exactly, and I have to include myself in that, because I don't think our guys remember. They remember Allen Iverson, but they remember as a Philadelphia 76er or a Denver Nugget. They don't remember playing at Georgetown. A lot of our guys, I don't know what those years were, but they were just infants. They certainly don't remember Patrick Ewing as a player at Georgetown. So, they've heard about it now this week, but I don't know if that mystique is as much in our players' minds as it is some of the media members' minds who understand the history, of Georgetown basketball. And we were talking to a recruit the other day, and he didn't know Chauncey Billups played at Colorado, because he wasn't alive when Chauncey Billups played at Colorado. He doesn't remember it, but he remembers him when he was still with the Pistons. I mean, he's young enough to remember that. But you start dating yourself a little bit when you get to this tournament, and you talk about teams like Georgetown and teams like Colorado, who may have great histories and may not have great histories, or kind of flashes in the pan, so to speak. And that's what we've tried to do at Colorado since we've arrived, is to build a consistent, sustainable program that can earn national respect. And I think we're still in the process of doing that. And Saturday is a big step in that process.
All right, Coach, another one for Pat Rooney.
Hey, Coach, just wondering about this one. It's my understanding that the swag bag that the players got at the tournament here included John Thompson's biography. Just wondering, probably something you want the guys to read, but maybe later, weeks, months from now.
Yeah, look, yeah, absolutely. It's his autobiography. I Came as a Shadow. I'm about 2 chapters into it. It's a terrific book. I want our players to read it. I told them that. I said, you can choose to do it now or you can choose to do it later. I said, it's ironic that this book was given to every participant, coach, player, administrator that's in the tournament, that's in the 34-person travel party. And I'm glad it was given, because I think it's a book that our players need to read, quite frankly. And again, I didn't encourage him to start it now or wait till after we played Georgetown. I just told him it's kind of ironic that it's the coach from Georgetown whose book it is. And but I think it's a good read, and it'll give our players maybe some perspective on who John Thompson was, because I think one of the things we don't do a good enough job of as coaches, I know I need to do a better job, is to really kind of teach the history of the game, of these guys that these guys are playing, and appreciate the people that have come before them. I think we've done a good job of that in terms of Colorado basketball, bringing former players back that played back in the day, so to speak, the Bertie Haldersons and those type of players. making them appreciate what's the history of Colorado basketball, but just the history of college basketball and even professional basketball. Our guys have a lot to learn, and the John Thompson book is a really good one.
All right, Coach, another one for Justin.
Yeah, more of a big picture question here for you. 2022 already has been and will continue to be, recruiting wise, a year impacted by COVID. I know the early spring months is a time where you guys would like to be getting some kids to Boulder, and we'll see how long the NCAA dead period continues to go on. But in the sense of playing in the tournament, is that at all something that kind of alleviates the inability to get in person and evaluate kids and bring them to campus, in the sense of your brand and in Colorado basketball being on the national stage and playing in nationally televised games?
Certainly helps us as we turn to recruiting. The one thing we know, Justin, is we know this spring recruiting, which is when basically a lot of roster turnover is going to happen, especially this year with COVID, or guys want to come back that you didn't expect wanted to come back, and you've got to kind of work through those conversations. Setting next year's roster is going to happen virtually. It's going to happen without any campus visits. We know that, unless you add a guy in June after they possibly open things up. But most of the roster management and decisions are going to be made here in March, April, and May, in terms of where guys are going to go next year, transfers, recruits, all that sort of thing. I think the big thing that we're hoping for as coaches is that in July, we get a normal July to go out and watch that next group of guys and get our eyes on them and get those evaluations made, because we haven't done that in over a year now. And the longer that goes on, the more recruiting mistakes are made by coaches and by players and families, because that fit isn't always well thought out. And so I'm hoping July we can get back to normal, but we know this spring we'll be operating much like we were last spring when it comes to recruiting.
All right, Coach, last questions for Neil.
Just one more quick question about Georgetown, Tad. They look like a team that likes to shoot threes and makes quite a few of them. Is this a team that you have to run off that line and make sure that they're working for hard twos rather than giving them that 3-point shot?
Certain guys for sure, Neil, and that's in our scouting report. We've got a couple guys in our team. We need to take their threes away from them. Other guys, can really put the ball on the floor and can drive it. Pickett's a good example. He's shooting really good percentage from three, but he also can put the ball on the floor and drive it. And Harris is a lightning quick point guard. I mean, he really has got good speed. So there's, each guy has their own tendencies that we've got to play to. And then I told our players, it's going to be one of those games. And I think that's what makes the NCAA tournament so interesting, is the scouting report's one thing, but then once you get out on the floor and you got to get a feel for guys, and you got to get a feel for their quickness and their first step, and who likes to go right, who likes to go left, and who's shooting the ball well. You get a shooter that's starting to shoot the ball well, that maybe we were saying, let's keep him in front of us and get a hand up on his threes. Well, by midway through the first half, you may be saying, let's run that guy off the line because he's hit 2 or 3. So the scouting reports are good. Your players just don't have the knowledge of like playing USC for the 3rd time in Las Vegas. The guys know USC. They've played against them for multiple years and now multiple times in that year. Georgetown, we haven't, but Georgetown hasn't played against us either. So it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game there, Neil, but they are a good 3-point shooting team, and they've got a good low post presence down there with Wahab that they really look to. And that's what makes them so dangerous, in my mind, offensively.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You're gonna have like 15 minutes now.
Hmm?
We're gonna have like 15 minutes before the next.